How did I start? That brings me to a point that I feel very much about myself as a poet, about myself as an artist of sorts, that I'm very much a storyteller. Very much telling a story, and that I think springs from the old tradition, which I wouldn't have been too aware of on a conscious level, but very much so perhaps on a subconscious level, the idea of the Shanachis in Irish storytelling. And I was always very impressed by the idea of people who pass stories down by oral tradition from year to year. And I would say that to some extent my influences are rooted in the Shanachis. There are more obvious influences like some of the great poets and writers. Yeats is a very big influence. And I'm also very much influenced by a poet who, when I mention, not everyone has heard of him, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him, Wallace Stevens, the American poet. I remember as a youngster I picked up a book in my cousin's house and I looked at it and said, I'd just look into it. By Wallace Stevens, about called his Wallace Stevens Selected Poems. And it was beautiful, and it has influenced me deeply over the years. Wilde, of course, and figures such as Byrne and Shelley would have figured in my consciousness very early on. I felt as a kid, as a youngster, that it would be fine to go to Regency parties and flounce in and out in a mood and be Byronic and be like Shelley. And I hope that I got over that over the years.
Took a Shelley and Oscar Wilde.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'll get started then on the first poem. Funnily enough, this links to the idea of my influence by Yeats. It's called The Fairy Nurse, and Yeats, says, probably most people know, remained to the end of his life deeply conscious of the spiritual element in poetry, in his life and in his interests, and it's called The Fairy Nurse. She told me I had been cured by violets, so I rested in the forest for a year. I drank her berry-haunted wine, and I grew to love the woodland rains that fell like fairy tears. Yes, I was nearly won by her, oh, I was almost there. For she had a smile like a child at play, and her laughter was a summer morn, and the lark ascending to the brightening air. One night when the moon was up, she bade me go and wash my eyes in a starry pool, and bade me walk on paths of silver, and know that any man who puts his faith in mortal things is but the dark world's fool.